The shadow falls. The Grand Council chamber of the Galactic Union hung in the void like a crystal palace, its transparent walls revealing the swirling colors of the nebula beyond. Inside, representatives from 100 worlds gathered in their designated sections, their forms as varied as the stars themselves. The Crithian delegation occupied the highest tier, their silver exoskeletons gleaming under the artificial light, a deliberate reminder of their military supremacy. Ambassador David Richardson stood at the speaker's platform, his simple gray suit a stark contrast to the elaborate ceremonial armor and flowing robes surrounding him. He had been speaking for nearly an hour, presenting Earth's petition for increased defensive perimeter rights. The response had been predictable. Laughter. Not the polite chuckle of diplomatic courtesy, but open, mocking laughter that echoed through the chamber like thunder. High Commander Vexthor of the Crithian Armada rose from his seat, his forearms spreading wide in a gesture of theatrical dismissal. His voice carried the weight of 1,000 conquered worlds. The human wishes to expand his territory? With what force? Your navy is a collection of mining vessels with guns attached. Your fastest ships move like slugs compared to our interceptors. Your largest battleship would fit inside our carrier bays. The chamber erupted in agreement. Even the diplomats from neutral worlds allowed themselves small smiles. Earth had joined the galactic community only 30 years ago, still children by cosmic standards. Their military consisted of converted colony ships and defensive platforms that any second-rate power could overwhelm. Richardson remained calm, his hands clasped behind his back. Commander Vexthor, we seek only the protection of our trade routes and outer colonies. Recent pirate activity? Pirate activity? Vexthor's mandibles clicked in what passed for Crithian amusement. You wish the Council to grant you military expansion rights because you cannot handle petty criminals? Perhaps Earth should focus on building merchant ships and leave military matters to civilizations that understand warfare. More laughter. Richardson felt the heat rise in his chest, but his face remained stone. He had been warned this would happen. Earth's military advisors had predicted every insult, every dismissal. What they hadn't predicted was how it would feel to stand alone before the assembled powers of the galaxy and be treated like an ignorant child. The Council vote was swift and unanimous. Earth's petition was denied. As Richardson left the chamber, he passed a viewing window that showed the Crithian war fleet in the distance. Hundreds of vessels arranged in perfect formation. Each ship bristled with weapons that could glass a planet. The message was clear. 3 weeks later, the message became a threat. The Crithian Armada appeared at the edge of human territory without warning. 200 warships, their hulls decorated with the scars of 1,000 battles, took position just beyond the boundary markers. High Commander Vexthor broadcast his ultimatum on all frequencies. People of Earth, your expansion into the Tertius sector violates ancient Crithian territorial claims. You have 72 hours to withdraw all colonies and military assets from the region, or we will withdraw them for you. We recommend compliance. Resistance would be brief and educational. On Earth, in the war room deep beneath the capital, Admiral Marcus Webb watched the broadcast with 50 other senior officers. The room was silent except for the hum of computers and the quiet breathing of men and women who had spent their entire careers preparing for this moment. They're really doing it, someone whispered. They're going to attack. Admiral Webb stood, his weathered face showing no emotion. At 73, he was the oldest serving officer in Earth's Navy. He had been a fighter pilot in the last terrestrial war, had commanded the first defense platform in orbit, and had overseen the construction of every major vessel in humanity's fleet. He had also overseen something else, something that existed only in classified files so secret that even most admirals didn't know about it. Send the signal, Webb said quietly. Activate Project Colossus. In the Tertius sector, the Crithian fleet waited with predatory patience. Their sensors tracked every human ship, every station, every defensive satellite. It was a pathetic array. 36 frigates, a handful of destroyers, and 2 light cruisers that looked like they had been assembled from spare parts. They're not even running, observed Sub-Commander Krell from his position at the tactical station. Look at them. They sit there like prey that doesn't understand it's about to be eaten. Vexthor studied the displays with narrowed eyes. Something felt wrong. Humans were primitive, yes, but they weren't stupid. They had to know this battle was unwinnable. So why weren't they evacuating? Why weren't they at least attempting to negotiate? Commander, we're receiving a transmission from the human flagship. the communications officer announced. "Put it through." The face that appeared on the screen belonged to a woman in her 40s. Her dark hair pulled back severely, her uniform crisp and proper. Her name tag read, Captain Jennifer Marks. Her expression was calm, almost serene. "Hi, Commander Vexthor. This is Captain Marks of the Earth Defense Force. We have received your ultimatum. We decline." Vexthor's mandibles clicked in surprise. "You decline? Captain, perhaps you don't understand your situation. We have 200 warships. You have 3 dozen. My smallest destroyer outguns your largest cruiser. This isn't bravery, it's suicide." "Perhaps," Marks replied. "But we aren't alone. Your reinforcements?" Vexthor made a dismissive gesture. "We've tracked every human ship in this sector. More are coming, yes, but they won't arrive in time. And when they do, they'll join your wreckage." "I wasn't talking about reinforcements, Commander." Before Vexthor could respond, every sensor in the Crithian fleet screamed in unison. Alarms blared across 200 ships as displays filled with error messages and impossible readings. "Contact," the sensor operator shouted. "Massive contact bearing 037 distance. Distance readings are fluctuating. Sir, the computer says it's within visual range, but that can't be right. The size estimates are—" "Show me," Vexthor commanded. The main view screen shifted to the indicated coordinates. At first there was nothing but stars. Then slowly some of those stars began to disappear. Not because of clouds or debris, but because something was passing in front of them. Something enormous. The object resolved gradually, as if reality itself was struggling to accommodate its presence. It started as a dark outline against the cosmic background, a shape that didn't belong in any tactical database. Then running lights flickered to life along its surface, thousands of them, revealing the true scale of what approached. It was a warship. But calling it a warship was like calling a mountain a rock. The vessel stretched across space like a horizontal skyscraper, its hull composed of layered armor plates that caught and reflected light in strange patterns. Towers rose from its surface like the spires of a city, each one larger than a Crithian destroyer. Weapon ports gaped along its flanks, hundreds of them, each cavity large enough to swallow a fighter squadron. The bridge of Vexthor's flagship fell into stunned silence. Officers who had served in dozens of campaigns, who had seen the warships of every major power in the galaxy, could only stare in disbelief. "Sensor readings?" Vexthor's voice was barely a whisper. The sensor operator's hands shook as he read the data. "Length 14 kilometers. Width 3.2 kilometers. Height 1.8 kilometers. Mass estimates are—" "Commander, the computer keeps rejecting the mass estimates. It says they're impossible. Power readings. Off the scale. I've never seen energy signatures like this. It's as if they have a sun contained inside that hull." The massive warship continued its approach, moving with the slow inevitability of a glacier. Despite its size, it moved with perfect precision, its engines producing thrust that should have torn a normal ship apart. Along its surface, symbols became visible, etched into the armor in letters 100 meters tall. UNS Colossus. United Nations Ship Colossus. In the human fleet, Captain Marks allowed herself a small smile. "Commander Vexthor, allow me to properly introduce humanity's response to your ultimatum. The Titan-Class Warship Colossus has been in development for 28 years. Every resource we could spare, every breakthrough in technology, every lesson learned from studying your civilizations went into its construction." On the Crithian flagship, Vexthor found his voice. "This is impossible. We would have known. Our intelligence networks are quite good," Marks interrupted. "We learned a great deal about avoiding them. The Colossus was built in deep space, in a region your scouts never visited because your charts marked it as unstable. We used automated construction drones, minimal crew, absolute information control. Even most of our own military didn't know it existed. The Colossus came to a stop relative to the Crithian fleet, positioning itself between them and the human colonies. Its shadow, metaphorical but no less real, fell across every alien ship. For the first time in the Crithian Armada's proud history, every commander felt what their enemies had always felt. Fear. "Weapon status?" Vexthor asked quietly. "Sir, we're reading power spikes across the target. It's charging weapons. Multiple types. Energy cannons, missile systems, particle beams, and—" "Commander, There are weapon signatures we don't even recognize. Vexthor stared at the impossible vessel before him. His entire career, his entire life had been built on Crithian military superiority. They were the strongest because they had the biggest fleet, the best technology, the most experience. But now, staring at this titan of human engineering, he realized that strength could be measured in ways he had never considered. The humans hadn't built more ships. They had built one ship that made fleets obsolete. "Open a channel," he said finally, "to all ships. Hold position. Do not, under any circumstances, fire without my direct order." As the communication went out, Vexthor turned back to face the Colossus on his screen. Somewhere on that massive vessel, humans were watching him just as he watched them. Humans who had been mocked, dismissed, and threatened. Humans who had responded not with words, but with the largest warship the galaxy had ever seen. The standoff had begun, and the galaxy would never be the same. Thunder and silence, the Crithian armada hung in space like a pack of predators that had just discovered their prey had teeth. For 3 hours, the two forces faced each other across the void. 200 warships, battle-tested and proven, versus one vessel that shouldn't exist. The mathematics should have been simple, but every Crithian commander knew the terrible truth. Mathematics had just been rewritten. On the bridge of the Colossus, Commander Sarah Chen walked slowly between duty stations, her footsteps echoing in the massive command center. The bridge alone was larger than most ships, a cathedral of tactical displays and weapons controls. 60 officers worked at their stations with quiet efficiency, their training evident in every calm movement. Chen was 41 years old and had never expected to command anything larger than a cruiser. The Colossus had been her secret for 5 years, ever since Admiral Webb had personally selected her for the position. "I need someone who can think, not just fight," Webb had told her. "This ship isn't just a weapon. It's a statement. And statements require careful delivery." "Status report," Chen said, her voice carrying easily through the command center. "All systems nominal," replied Lieutenant Commander James Park from the weapons station. "Primary batteries charged and locked. Secondary systems on standby. Point defense network active. We have firing solutions on all enemy vessels. Shield status, layered shields at maximum. The new gravitational matrix is stable. Ma'am, we could sit here for a month and they couldn't scratch us." Chen nodded but didn't smile. The shields alone had cost more than Earth's entire previous navy. They didn't just deflect energy, they bent space itself around the ship, creating a pocket of warped reality that conventional weapons simply couldn't penetrate. Communications. What's happening in their fleet? Ensign Rachel Torres looked up from her console. "Lots of chatter, Commander. Encrypted. But our quantum computers are breaking it faster than they can change codes. They're arguing. Some commanders want to attack. Others are urging caution. High Commander Vexthor is holding them together but barely. And Earth? Command is watching. Admiral Webb says the decision is yours. Either way, they trust your judgment." The weight of those words settled on Chen's shoulders, the greatest warship humanity had ever built. And the decision to fire first or wait rested with her. She thought about the council chamber, about Richardson standing alone while aliens laughed at human weakness. She thought about every colony that had been raided, every merchant ship that had vanished, every time Earth had been forced to bow because they lacked the strength to stand. "We wait," she said finally, "but not forever. If they fire, we respond with overwhelming force. If they retreat, we let them go. If they negotiate, we talk. But we do not fire first." The bridge crew acknowledged the order. They understood. The Colossus wasn't built for conquest. It was built so that no one would ever laugh at humanity again. On the Crithian flagship, the argument had grown heated. Sub-Commander Krell stood before Vexthor's command chair, his posture aggressive. "We cannot simply sit here, Commander. Every moment we wait, we appear weaker. The other powers are watching. If we retreat without firing a single shot, our reputation will be destroyed. And if we attack and lose?" Vexthor countered. "What then? We've lost fleets before, Krell, but never to a single ship. Never to a species we claimed was primitive. That would destroy more than our reputation. It would destroy our credibility. Then we call for reinforcements. We summon every fleet, every ally. We bring 1,000 ships and crush this abomination." Vexthor's eyes narrowed. "You think we're the only ones watching that ship, Krell? Right now, every major power in the galaxy has sensors pointed at this sector. They're all wondering the same thing. What else are the humans hiding? If we escalate, if we turn this into a total war, we might win. But the cost? He gestured at the Colossus on the view screen. That ship represents technology we don't have. Resources we didn't think they possessed. Engineering capabilities beyond our intelligence estimates. What else don't we know? The sensor operator interrupted. Commander, the human ship is broadcasting. Wide spectrum, all languages. It's a message for us. Play it. Sarah Chen's face appeared on screens throughout the Crithian fleet. She spoke calmly without theatrics or threats. Hi, Commander Vexthor. I am Commander Sarah Chen of the UNS Colossus. I want to be very clear about our position. We did not build this ship to conquer or intimidate. We built it because we were tired of being dismissed, tired of being threatened, tired of being told we don't belong in the galactic community as equals. She paused, letting the words sink in. You issued an ultimatum. You gave us 72 hours to abandon our colonies. That deadline has passed. We are still here. Our colonies are still here. And the Colossus is still here. This is our counter-ultimatum. Withdraw your fleet from human territory. Return to your borders. And in the future, when Earth speaks in the council chamber, you will listen. Krell hissed in fury. She demands we retreat? This is an outrage. But Vexthor held up a hand for silence. He studied Chen's face on the screen, looking for signs of bluffing, of uncertainty, of weakness. He found none. This was a woman who had been given the most powerful weapon in known space, and had chosen patience over aggression. That more than the ship itself terrified him. Commander Chen, Vexthor replied, you speak boldly. But boldness and capability are not the same thing. That ship is impressive, yes, but it is one ship. What happens when you face a true war fleet? When you face coordinated attacks from multiple vectors? When your enemies study your weaknesses and exploit them? Chen's expression didn't change. Then they'll discover what happens when you attack the Titan-Class. Would you like a demonstration? Before Vexthor could respond, the Colossus moved. Despite its enormous mass, it accelerated smoothly, rotating on its axis to present its broadside to the Crithian fleet. Weapon ports glowed with building energy. Missile tubes cycled open with mechanical precision. Along its spine, a weapon system activated that no Crithian sensor could properly identify, something that seemed to tear at the fabric of space itself. All ships evasive maneuvers, Vexthor shouted. Scatter formation. The Crithian armada broke, ships peeling away in every direction. It was a tactical withdrawal disguised as repositioning, and everyone knew it. The humans had called their bluff, and the legendary Crithian armada had blinked first. But Chen didn't fire. The weapons remained charged, the targeting systems active, but no shots were fired. The message was clear. We could destroy you. We're choosing not to. On Earth, in the underground war room, Admiral Webb allowed himself a slight smile. The young captain had played it perfectly. Show strength, but don't abuse it. Demonstrate capability, but choose restraint. Give them a path to retreat without complete humiliation. Sir, we're receiving diplomatic signals, an aide reported. The Crithian High Command is requesting a formal negotiation. They want to discuss territorial boundaries and trade agreements. Webb's smile widened. They're talking. Good. That's how you win a war without fighting one. Send the coordinates for the meeting. Neutral territory. Full delegation. And make sure Ambassador Richardson is there. I want the same man they laughed at to be the one accepting their concessions. In the Tertius sector, the Crithian fleet began its withdrawal. It was orderly, disciplined, but everyone watching knew what it meant. The balance of power had shifted, not because Earth had the largest fleet or the most colonies, but because they had proven they could innovate, could surprise, could build something that changed the rules of engagement. 3 days later, in that same Crystal Council chamber where Richardson had been mocked, the Galactic Union convened an emergency session. This time, when the Earth delegation entered, there was no laughter. The Crithian delegation arrived with formal apologies and proposed treaty modifications. Other powers scrambled to offer trade deals and technology exchanges. Richardson stood at the speaker's platform again, but this time the chamber was silent, attentive, respectful. Members of the Galactic Union, he began, Earth comes before you not as conquerors but as partners. The Colossus was built in secrecy because we were afraid of being overwhelmed, afraid of being erased before we had a chance to prove our worth. But fear should not be the foundation of interstellar relations. He gestured to the displays showing images of the massive warship. Yes, we built a Titan, and yes, we have the capability to build more. But we would prefer to build together, to share technology, to establish mutual defense pacts, to create a future where no species needs to build weapons like this out of desperation. High Commander Vexthor rose slowly. His voice carried none of its earlier arrogance. Ambassador Richardson, the Crithian Dominion acknowledges its miscalculation. We underestimated humanity. We assumed youth meant weakness. We have learned otherwise. The Dominion wishes to propose a formal treaty of mutual respect and cooperation. Around the chamber, other delegations voiced similar sentiments. The small species, the ones who had always feared the Crithian armada, saw hope. If humans could stand up to the dominators, maybe they could too. On the Colossus, now stationed in high orbit above Earth, Commander Chen stood before a viewing window, looking down at the planet below. Blue and green and beautiful, wrapped in clouds that looked like silk from this distance, her crew had been given shore leave in shifts, and the ship hummed with reduced but attentive activity. Lieutenant Commander Park joined her at the window. "It worked, ma'am. They're negotiating, talking about real treaties, actual respect. For now," Chen replied, "but someone somewhere is already planning a counter to this ship, designing weapons to defeat it, building something bigger. That's how arms races work, James. We've bought peace, but we've also started a timer." "Then what was the point?" Chen turned to face him, her expression serious but not pessimistic. "The point is that we're in the conversation now. We're not the weak ones anymore, the ones that everyone ignores. We're players, and players have a voice. We bought ourselves time and respect. What we do with them will determine if the Colossus becomes a symbol of peace or the first shot in a new kind of war." Far from Earth, in the depths of uncharted space, something stirred. Ancient sensors registered the energy signatures of the Colossus's activation. Automated systems dormant for millennia began their awakening protocols, and on a dead world circling a dying star, a message appeared on screens that hadn't lit up in 1,000 years. New power detected. Titan-Class designation confirmed. Assessment potential threat. Recommendation investigate. Authorization pending. The screens flickered and went dark. But somewhere in that forgotten facility something had awakened. Something that had watched civilizations rise and fall. Something that found humanity's achievement not threatening, but interesting. And in the quiet of deep space where no one could hear, ancient machines began to move. The story of the Colossus had only just begun.